Me too, right?
Yes, we are live on
Thursday.
Facebook, YouTube.
Yeah, we are also live now on TikTok.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we'll just give everyone a few minutes to come in here before we do our little intro spiel, let you know who we are and why we're here and what we're doing and what we hope you will learn from it.
Just a little sneak peek into the intro. We're immigration attorneys.
That's right. We are immigration attorneys. You may have figured that out by Gardner and Mendoza immigration law being on the,
True.
the tag.
It's
there.
on the screen here, but it's not on that
It is
screen.
not on the TikTok screen. But we always like to just give a little bit of time, give people some time to come in. And we are not on our regular night tonight, so we'll see if anybody finds us, because usually folks are looking for us on Wednesdays. Okay, it is 8:00.
It is 8 p.m.
Let's roll.
Let's rock and roll.
Okay, welcome everybody. My name is John Gardner, and this is my wife and law partner, Radeline Mendoza, and we are the immigration law firm Gardner and Mendoza.
Hey guys.
We come to you usually Wednesday night from 8 to 8:30 with an immigration topic for you, usually something that's going on in the news or something that we just think is important for you to know. We also like to answer your questions. We couldn't be here last night, so we pushed it to tonight. All right. And we are going to talk tonight about criminal convictions, criminal charges, traffic convictions and charges, and how those things can impact your immigration case and why you need to be very, very careful about that. If you do have any criminal record and you are going through an immigration process or you're thinking about starting an immigration process, you really need to stop and contact an immigration lawyer before you go any further, because there are a lot of dangers if you have a criminal conviction. All right. I do want to warn you that what we do here is for informational and educational purposes only. It is not legal advice.
Not legal advice. I do want to add, because, Gardner and Mendoza, we're not here to scare people. We're here to help you become more informed. And I'm going to say that we have a lot of scared people calling us, and most of the time the fear is unwarranted, especially when we've got people calling who are already U.S. citizens, naturalized U.S. citizens. Maybe they've derived their citizenship from their parents, and they're afraid that something that has happened or is happening now is going to impact and get them denaturalized, or that they would still get arrested and deported from the United States. And so, again, the vast majority of you are going to be fine. And John, he is a recovering trial attorney, recovering criminal defense attorney. And we know we've done continuing legal education presentations to lawyers and judges about what the impact of these crimes can have on your immigration status. So it's to be aware, it's not to scare, it's so you're aware. And again, the vast majority of lawful permanent residents out there who don't have a criminal record, naturalized U.S. citizens, born in the United States, born to immigrant parents, you guys are going to be okay. All right.
Yeah, as Radeline said, for over 20 years, I was doing criminal defense work, and the overwhelming majority of my clients were non-U.S. citizens. And so I do have a lot of experience in this space. And by this space, I mean the the immigration consequences that can flow from a criminal charge or a criminal conviction. And so, folks if you're not a U.S. citizen and you're charged with a crime or you have a criminal conviction, the punishment from the state court in that crime, that's only one half of the problem for you. The other problem that you have to be aware of is that there could be an immigration consequence that follows from that. I used to call it the other shoe drops. You get out of jail, you think it's the end of your case, only to find out that maybe you're now going to be deported from the United States, or perhaps if you're still in the process of adjusting your status, you're now going to be inadmissible into the United States, or maybe if you have a green card and you travel and you're coming back,
Yeah.
you're inadmissible into the United States. These are the things that can happen, is that you can be deported, or you can become inadmissible, or in the case of perhaps you are trying to naturalize, there are things that, if you have a criminal conviction, can bar you from naturalizing permanently, or at least temporarily, because you have to have a period of good moral character. And if you have any criminal convictions, or you have anything pending, or you have any suspended jail time, you're on any kind of probation, anything like that, then you're not going to be able to naturalize during that period. So that's what we're talking about. And that's why we're saying that if you do have a criminal conviction, you really, really should contact an immigration lawyer in addition to your criminal lawyer, or have your criminal lawyer contact the immigration lawyer. That's how we did it for many years, working with other criminal defense lawyers.
Right. We do work closely with our criminal defense colleagues when they have a non-US citizen. And when we do our presentations, one of the first things we say, look, if you take anything away from our presentation, it's to ask the potential client, the person who's thinking about hiring you as a criminal defense attorney, if that person is a US citizen, because that's critically important. And as John has always said, it's oftentimes in some of these cases way more important than a punishment, say from a misdemeanor theft, right?
Oh, there's no question about it. I had many, many, many clients who, I was trying to save their immigration case, and I got a lot of strange looks from judges through the years when I would say things like, well, can we have the suspended sentence only be 6 months rather than 12 months? My client be happy to serve 2 weekends in jail in exchange for that. Nobody wants to go to jail, but in a lot of the cases that I was involved with, it made a lot of sense, because my client would much rather serve a couple weekends in the jail. They can survive that. If it meant that they were going to be able to continue with their immigration case and not become inadmissible or removable from the United States. All right. Especially if they, have family. I mean, for themselves, it's one thing, but if there was family involved, then there really was an incentive to save the immigration case. So these criminal convictions can really come back to bite you. And we're talking about if you're undocumented, if you're a visa holder, if you're a permanent resident, any non-US citizen. All right. And that's why one of the reasons we always tell, when we do continuing legal education presentations around Virginia, we always tell folks that one of the most important questions you can ask your clients is the basic question of whether they're a US citizen or not, because that question alone is going to then dictate, in large part, what you need to keep your eye more focused on during that criminal case. Once you know you're dealing with a non-US citizen, then you need to be aware of that other issue. All right. And this shouldn't be super strange for the criminal defense lawyers. There is actually case law out of the Supreme Court, Padilla versus Kentucky. They are required to inquire about your immigration status before entering you into any sort of a plea agreement. And so they do have a duty. It's a case that ended up not having as many teeth as we wanted it to have. When it first came out, it was a big deal. We really thought that it was going to revolutionize the way that criminal defense lawyers were practicing when they were dealing with non-US citizens. Unfortunately, what we found is, they have a duty. Most still didn't do it, and the lower courts kind of yawned when it happened and didn't seem to care that much about it. So it's on you, is I guess where I'm going with this is, it's on you.
And it's not retroactive. I think you mentioned that, but
it's on you to make sure that you let your attorney know, if they're not asking you that question, to make sure you're telling them, hey, I'm not a US citizen, and you're talking to me about, this plea agreement or how you think we should handle this case. I want to make sure you know what you're doing involved in terms of my immigration case. I want you to contact an immigration lawyer and talk to them about this. Warning, the immigration lawyer is going to charge you for that. So this is going to be an additional cost, probably, unless you have a criminal defense lawyer who just happens to have a good relationship with some immigration lawyer they work with. And we used to do that all the time as well. So,
yeah. And for our criminal defense colleagues out there, please don't call us while you're walking into the courtroom.
yes, yeah, that was my favorite. I got calls all the time, and it was always like 2 minutes before the judge was going to hear the evidence or take the plea. And at that point, it was kind of hard to change what was happening.
Right.
So if you have a charge, that's what you want to do. If you have a conviction and you're going through an immigration process, I want to make sure that you understand that a conviction is much broader for immigration purposes than it is in the state court criminal or traffic case. So be very careful when you're talking about a conviction, whether it's with your immigration lawyer or you're going to have a conviction in a pending case. Unless you plead not guilty to a charge and are found not guilty of that charge, that's an acquittal. That's a straight up dismissal, and that is not a conviction. Okay. Now you'll still need to list it as a charge, of course, but it is not a conviction.
Very important point.
Yeah.
So let me just talk about this for 1 second.
Sure.
Not 1 second, 10 seconds. A lot of you out there, and this is where you sometimes get into trouble on the green card application, on your visa application, on your naturalization application, you believe that you want to seem like a good person, right? You want to appear like you're a good person. So you don't want to list that charge that was then later dismissed, because I mean, after all, you were never convicted of it. So why would you put it on your application? You must put all charges, arrests, citations, all of it on the applications, because it's a question. And if you don't put it on there, then it's going to be an omission and it's going to look like misrepresentation, because to the immigration officer or the consular office is misrepresentation, because it specifically asks the questions. And have you ever been charged, cited, indicted, fined, imprisoned? And if you leave it blank and they see that it's on your record, then you are a liar to them. I was going to say misrepresentation is, let me be clear. You are making a false statement. You are lying under oath. You are lying under penalty of perjury. And so that can sometimes be even worse than, well, it is worse because you didn't even get convicted of it. And even if you were convicted of it and it wasn't a crime that would make you ineligible, say, for naturalization, the fact that you lied about it on your naturalization application, it means your application is going to be denied because you're not a person of good moral character. And so that's just one of these things where the cover up is worse than the crime, right? Mm-hmm. Or the non-crime, the crime that you didn't even have. Say you got, misprofiled, or what do you call it? What do you guys call it when it's the wrong person? Misidentified? What is it? You were falsely arrested, right? Should you put that on your naturalization application? Of course you should. Should you put that on your I-45? Should you put that on your DS-260? Absolutely, because it happened and you were arrested, right? The fact that it went away, again, the cover-up is worse. You lie about that on a DS-260, a consular, you're going to get misrepresentation, lying on your application. It's going to be bad. So, yeah.
Yeah, and be careful too, not just about listing a charge, but whether you have a conviction. One of the places that we see this, that's a very, very common pitfall, is what in Virginia we call a finding under advisement or a deferred finding, but every state has some version of this. And this can really be confusing for people because in their mind, they feel like they don't have a conviction. Okay.
Right.
A classic example would be something like a marijuana, some sort of a drug charge, or domestic violence, something like that, solicitation of prostitution. These are the really common ones that we see in Virginia in the lower courts. And what happens is you go to court, you don't have a criminal record. The judge says, hey, I see you don't have a criminal record. Here's what we're going to do. You're going to go and take these drug counseling classes, or you're going to go do an anger management counseling class, or you're going to do a sexually transmitted disease awareness class, something like that. Okay. and pay a small fine. And then you're going to stay out of trouble for the next year. And then you're going to come back into my courtroom here. And as long as you've completed the class and as long as you've paid the court costs and the fine or whatever, and don't have any new charges, then I'm going to dismiss the charge, right? And that's what happens. You do the class, you pay the costs, you don't get any new charges, you go back to court, and the judge says it's dismissed. You walk out of court thinking in your mind, okay, that was dismissed.
Right.
Somebody says, hey, do you have a conviction for solicitation of prostitution? And you say, no, I don't, right? The problem is, for immigration purposes, you actually do. And that is where the real trap is, okay? Because what happens when you have a finding under advisement is the judge checks a box. And again, every state's got a version of this, where essentially they're saying, look, the facts here are sufficient for a finding of guilt. Or in a lot of cases, the client will actually plead guilty, all right? Say, look, yeah, I'm guilty, and then they do the class. And so there's an admission of guilt, and or there are facts sufficient for a finding of guilt, and then the case is deferred. And for immigration purposes, that still counts as a conviction, all right?
Yep.
So be super, super, super careful with that, so you don't think that is. And we've got somebody here on Facebook. Jim said, this is Jim over in Newport News. They're now reviewing my case out in California. Tell people just don't get in trouble. That's good advice, Jim.
That's good advice. But if you have already gotten in trouble.
Yeah. But Jim's not wrong.
He's not wrong.
If you're a non-US citizen and you are in a process, or even if you just have a green card and you're just here and you've been a permanent resident for many, many years, and you have chosen not to naturalize for whatever reason, obviously that's your choice.
Yeah, we got
you want to be careful, and you should definitely take Jim's advice to just don't get in trouble. All right.
We are not saints.
Yeah,
we are
right.
not saints. Okay. Yeah. Dr. AJ from Ohio, he's a permanent resident here on TikTok. He says he had a case which was dismissed in 2004. Is it risky to travel abroad? So hopefully you heard what John just said, Dr. AJ, about how was it dismissed? Did you plead not guilty and you were found not guilty and it was dismissed? Or was there a deferred finding? Was there some sort of a diversion? Is that what you call it? A diversion where you had to go do
That's
something?
What many states call it, yeah.
You have to go do something, and then a year later it gets dismissed. So we really need to look at that. And Dr. AJ, I'm going to also submit to you, why are you not yet a U.S. citizen? Are you not a U.S. citizen because a charge that was dismissed in 2004 is holding you back? I don't know. Maybe you're not time eligible for it. Maybe there's something else. But this is the only thing you brought up. Guys, a cure to some of these things as a lawful permanent resident is to file for U.S. citizenship.
No doubt.
Because if it was outside of the good moral character period, it's something that could make you inadmissible to come back into the United States, and this Dr. AJ could apply to you here. But you really need to think about that. So a lot of you out there, I'm not going to just call out Filipinos, but I have a lot of, we have a lot of Filipino followers on TikTok, but there's a lot of fear in the Filipino community as permanent residents. And sometimes you're even afraid to talk to a lawyer about maybe something in your past that is holding you back from applying for U.S. citizenship. And when we find out about it, like when you finally get the nerve up to call an immigration lawyer's office and to pay that consultation fee and sit there and tell your story and maybe tell them this bad thing that you did, like shoplifting 25 years ago, we say, it's fine, you can apply for U.S. citizenship. And there's just like okay, are you sure? Are you sure? We're here to help you. Reputable immigration lawyers are here to help you. We're not out there filing cases that we don't think are going to go all the way forward and be a success for our clients, right? We wouldn't be in business. We wouldn't have been in business for 25 years if we were filing cases just to file the cases. I mean, our number one concern, Our number one concern is our clients. It's our client's safety. We don't want to put you in a situation where you're worse off than when you came in. Sauce. All right. You take over that conversation while I'm.
Yeah, well, back to
Done.
Dr. AJ's point real quick is that,
Sorry.
and do be careful here because there are things that we have no idea what his charge was or whether it was actually dismissed.
It was
or
a
not.
lewd conduct case.
Okay. There are, there are some charges that will make you removable from the United States, but there are also charges that will make you inadmissible. That's what we were talking about. If you're a permanent resident, even if you've been a permanent resident for many years, that there are convictions that if you leave the country, the United States, then when you come back in and you're knocking on the door to re-enter, you will not be allowed back in because of the conviction. So that's what you need to watch out for.
Yeah. I got another question here.
Yeah, sure.
So NATO CD says, I have a retail theft, $57, no jail, no probation, just a fine, cost and restitution, which is restitution would be what, $57, right? Back to the store. Can I apply for citizenship? So number one, when did this happen, right? And even if it happened recently, you could be eligible for the petty offense exception.
Yeah, it's a crime involving moral turpitude, but it would be, from what you're telling us, it would be eligible for the petty offense exception. Radlin is correct about that.
And so you could potentially be eligible for citizenship right now. So NATO CD, I would encourage you to reach out to us. Give us a call, 757-464-9224. We also, you can also send us a message through TikTok, DM us, and we'll get you and find out exactly what happened. And if you can apply for citizenship, you're asking the question, so obviously you want to apply for citizenship. Yeah. So you took the first step by joining our live, asking the question, and go ahead and take the next step and give us a call. We would be happy to take a look at it and help you out. And we are located in Virginia Beach, Virginia, but we serve clients in all 50 states. And we'd be happy to serve you no matter where you are. All of our initial consultations are virtual. You could be right in our backyard and we would still see you virtually. So.
Yeah, theft is be careful with that. I know it was all fun and games and Breakfast at Tiffany's. But for those of you who are old enough to remember that movie, the daring theft of the silk scarf. But in real life, that's a real problem for non-U.S. citizens. All right. And, while we're on citizenship, I did want to mention, you were talking about being eligible. When you go to these interviews, one of the things that we're always telling folks and reminding them is that, and we sometimes on our program here, we have a retired USCIS officer who's with USCIS senior officer for what, she's 40 years, is that what she said?
42 years
42 years. And she's always reminding folks that come on here when she joins us to answer questions that they have your record, they know what your charges and convictions are. And so if you're there and you're denying that you ever had that speeding ticket out in Utah, in 1996, you're making a huge mistake because that ticket in Utah is not going to stop you from naturalizing, but you swearing that it never actually happened when they know it did, that is going to cause a problem. Yeah. So there's no point in trying to hide things. Just correct the record if you're given the opportunity. All right.
Yep. And I want to just really quickly introduce ourselves again. My name is Radlin Mendoza, and this is my law partner and husband, John Gardner. We own the law firm Gardner Mendoza. We started that law firm in 2000. Spent 25 years, and we come here every week to give you helpful information. And sometimes people who call our office, our team refers them back to our live to get the question answered by us. We want to help people who are ready to move on with their immigration case, and they want professional assistance to help them and get you through this. Now, I am very surprised about with all the people who are self-filing these days still. And shocked.
I'm shocked. I with everything that's going on, with everything you've seen in the news, it amazes me. But
guys, I'm looking at a really super sad case right now, and so many mistakes were made by the self-filers. Truly a very straightforward case is we're looking at potentially getting she's looking at potentially getting a notice to appear in immigration court because the case was denied. And so I feel sick about this case. John can tell you, I mean, we haven't even gotten retained to work on the case yet, and I'm still talking about it. I'm still talking to the attorneys about it because it makes me sick that something like this has happened to this couple and starting their lives together here in the United States. And so,
yeah,
guys, please be careful.
We've been practicing law for more than 25 years, so
yeah,
it's we've seen plenty.
Please be careful when you're doing your filings. Do not go at it alone. There are many reputable immigration attorneys out there. We would love it if you came to us. Don't try to come to us and get all of your immigration questions answered on your applications. It's not going to work. Yes, there are people that successfully self-file, but without a lot of delays, without a lot of heartache, without a lot of stress. And that's what we're here for. We're here to avoid those delays. We're here to help you avoid the heartaches. And we're definitely here to take the stress away from you. So I'm going to pitch our webinar. It's coming up. It's coming up Friday the 13th. And the topic is the top 10 mistakes you make on your immigration forms that cause delays and denial. So please look out for that. Like and follow. That link will be getting posted up soon for you to join that webinar. If you register and you can't make it, then we'll send you a recording. But we will be joined by our friend and former USCIS colleague. She's recently retired. She worked for USCIS as a senior immigration officer for 42 years. Please, if you are thinking about self-filing your case, please join that webinar and make sure you like and follow. So go ahead.
Yeah, no. We have more to cover here, but we also have some questions and we don't have a lot of time. So maybe we should hit a couple of these questions. Jim said, told us you all do a wonderful job. Thank you, Jim.
So much.
Yeah, we really appreciate that.
And I want to kind of focus on, I'm looking through the comments here to see
you look at those and all charges are a problem. But I just wanted to highlight some to really be aware of what I call the big four. All right. Category 1 is aggravated felonies. These are going to be crimes that involve an element of force or violence. And sometimes the sentence imposed matters here. These are the really bad things. These are rape, murder, malicious wounding, this kind of stuff. If you're involved in that, then, you really have even a bigger problem, quite frankly, than the immigration case. This is one place where the immigration problem may not be as big as the fact that you're looking at a 30-year sentence. One is crimes involving moral turpitude.
What is that? Crimes involving moral turpitude?
Yeah, these are things like theft and fraud. You want to really try to avoid these kinds of things.
Like embezzlement.
Yeah. And, you might say that, obviously, but again, just, life happens, things happen. You want to be careful with that. Controlled substances are always a problem. There is one exception for marijuana under, excuse me.
We just ran our AC because it's here's some water. Less than 30 grams of marijuana.
Less than 30 grams. Thank you. This is another real danger zone because, a lot of states have legalized marijuana. Marijuana is not legal under federal law. It is not legal for immigration. So if you're living in a place like Colorado where you can go walk down to the corner dispensary and buy marijuana and you're thinking, well, it's legal, no problem. Don't do it unless you're a U.S. citizen. And then finally, the other real danger spot is domestic violence. And again, you hear domestic violence and you think, well, yeah, if you're engaging in domestic violence, then you should not be in the United States anyway. That's what a lot of people say. Having done criminal defense work for 20 plus years, there's a lot of domestic violence that isn't as bad as you think. It's usually involves, married couples that are, have children together, they're drinking, fighting. Sometimes it's, things happen. It's a push, it's a scratch. it's not like, every case is a hot poker coming out of the fire and an eye getting
It's
poked
not,
out.
yeah,
Some
acid.
stuff is actually like fairly minor. And the next morning, they're in our office saying, oh, we're so embarrassed, we're so ashamed, I can't believe we got to go to court, this is never going to happen again. That's a real danger spot for non-U.S. citizens.
Right,
So
absolutely.
be very, very careful
And
with that. Okay.
And we obviously don't want to, take away from those domestic violence situations where there's real danger for the spouse, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that is not what we're talking about here.
No,
we take all domestic violence seriously, but
good point.
In the cases where, as John mentioned, it's usually the couple, they've been drinking and there's pushing and shoving. That's what we're talking about.
I mean, I've seen it all. Somebody, throwing a piece of bacon at somebody and hitting them in the head in the morning with a piece of bacon, and that becomes a domestic assault and battery case. So, just watch out for that. All right.
Yep.
Radlin's right. If it's truly, a situation that's dangerous, we don't want to downplay that at all. And there are other avenues for a person who's in that position to pursue. So if that's you can reach out to us.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's what I wanted to say.
Okay.
Just
well, I want to end here with and we will be back next week, guys. And this is a quick Q&A. Sign up for the webinar. Please like and follow, and you will have that information for the webinar. But Jinx, wait a minute. No, sorry, not Jinx. I'm sorry, Jinx, not Jinx. But Jinx, let me answer your question. She says, we're under a tourist visa, and it happens she gave birth here in the United States, and the son is still in the NICU. Sorry to hear that. I hope he gets out of there and is healthy soon. But yes, you can file for an extension of your status based on the hospital stay and the care that your son needs. You just have to document everything, and you need to do that before your I-94 expires. Okay, so someone here asked about interview. So she's got an interview coming up, and she was very, very nervous. I don't know if it has to do with any criminal record history, but if you have an interview and you have a criminal record or there's something, you do need to bring the certified disposition of your criminal record to your interview. And so the person who asked about that, if it's related to anything like that, a criminal record, you need to bring the certified disposition to the interview. And if you're just looking for general immigration interview tips, I believe it was a marriage-based case. Number one, you need to go through your application, and you need to look at all of your answers on the application and even read the applications out loud, answers out loud, right? So we go through every single question on the I-130, on the I-130A, on the I-45, on the affidavit of support with our clients during our interview prep. If you don't have a lawyer, you should be doing that too, because it's going to make you less nervous. You're going to know what's in the application. And so also for a marriage case, you need to make sure that you know that you're going to be asked questions like, where you and your spouse met. When did you meet? What did you do on your first date? These things that are all about your relationship, and the question should come out in the form of the conversation. I mean, it's there's not going to be like somebody reading off 10 questions, and it's a conversation. Okay. And then finally, for your marriage-based interview, you need to bring documentation to show that you and your spouse are in a bona fide marriage and relationship, updated bank account statements, any insurances, your lease, photos, all those types of documents that have your name together. And financial documents are very high value for a USCIS. And our immigration officer friend, she said that they actually like looking at pictures, and it tells a story. So bring the photos, bring the photo album. Anyhow, hopefully those tips help. But guys,
right.
if you're just joining us, we talked about some very, very important things here regarding minor crimes, major crimes, traffic tickets, and you need to rewatch it and share this and like and follow. We're gonna be having a really great webinar next Friday, so
Yep.
we will see you before then. We'll still have our live on Wednesday
Yep,
night
we'll
next
see you
week.
next Wednesday at 8 o'clock.
But that webinar, make sure you sign up for it. It's going to be good.
All right.
Bye bye, guys.
We're out of here. We will see you next week. Thank you so much for joining. And Georgia Gardner said, good program tonight.
Hey, Georgia Gardner, I know her.
Thanks,
She's
Mom.
a great lady.
Love you. Okay.
Bye. Love
See
you.
guys.
Bye bye. Take care. 2 thumbs up.
Oh, that's right. 2 thumbs up.